What's up gamers, Dreamcastguy here, and this is my review for Guilty Gear Strive. Now let me just start things off with a bit of a confession so you understand what this video is going to be like. I really enjoy fighting games. I play them quite a bit, I go online and get completely stomped, and I have managed to win a couple tournaments here and there, things like Injustice 2 and Tekken, but I would not consider myself to be a professional. I am a casual fan. I'm somebody that really appreciates the art form of fantastically built fighting games, but this is not going to be a technical analysis. Instead, I want to talk about why I think this game is very, very impressive, why I had fun with it, and why I think you should definitely give it a shot. Now, Guilty Gear is a series that's always really prided itself on being a very, very deep, very, very intricate style of fighting game. They're extremely complicated at times, having things like combo breaks, air combos, juggling, and all sorts of different ways to constantly bounce people across the map. But Strive, this game feels more approachable than the previous games have been. The last couple Guilty Gear games have honestly been very, very tough to try and understand at first, because there's just so many different layers of mechanics and such a big roster to play with. A newcomer might be completely overwhelmed even trying to understand the basics of it. Well, Strive, it's making those big attempts to try and make this more accessible, and a big part of this comes down to these characters that we play as. Each of the different heroes and villains we're playing in Guilty Gear are incredibly different. People that have huge anchors as weapons, or are able to summon up demons or ghosts, or people like ninjas and robots all battling it out in the arena. But the thing is that because everybody is just so wildly different, if you're having trouble with a particular character, or you find yourself just having trouble with a specific combo or something, just switch characters. Like, by far the best part about this game, and definitely the thing I've loved the most, is the fact that because everybody just fights, moves, and even behaves differently, it makes it where you constantly feel like you can just try something different. If you completely suck with some characters, which definitely I do, it's nice that I can just switch to Chip or Soul Bad Guy or somebody and just completely learn a different style of combat, and maybe that will be more fitting to my style. Now, to go along with this idea of easy and difficult characters to play as, there's this new thing that Strive has decided to add in, which is a missions mode. Now, this is incredibly important to the fighting game industry, and I'm actually really impressed that they managed to put this in here. It's basically a series of lessons of extremely advanced fighting game mechanics, things that teach you how to move around, how to fight, how to juggle, how to make sure that when somebody's in the air, they can't fight back, or if you're just backed into a corner, the proper way to do some more technical things like a Roman cancel. Now, the fact that there's these lessons in here is incredibly good because they're tough. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. These are some very, very tough lessons. They go from easy, medium to hard to extremely hard. I think it's going to give you a chance to practice even the most advanced techniques because it has this very safe spot to kind of rehearse some of these really difficult situations you're definitely going to find yourself in. And this is honestly just a very necessary aspect of the game itself because the skill ceiling here is incredibly high. But let's talk a bit about how this all works. Let's just talk about some random nice matches. On the surface, this is a very old school fighting game in a way, and what I mean by that is that you get special meters. You're constantly trying to build up to unleash the next ultimate attack. You have blocks. You're constantly trying to chip down your opponents hit by hit, but randomly, there's also just some fun twists you might not expect. Like, sometimes if you beat an opponent in arcade mode, they might join your team, and in the next level, you'll have a co-op fight where you and the person you just defeated is now teaming up against a computer opponent. These elements of randomization as you go through something like arcade mode again and again kind of give you a chance to further just explore the limits of your own capabilities, teaching you just trial by fire how to be a better fighter. And let's face it, the primary point of Strive is just to train you to be the best of the best. This combat is heavily reliant on accuracy above all else, meaning that button timing is incredibly vital because if you miss a hit or press something just a millisecond too slow, then oftentimes that can mean the difference between victory and defeat, or as this game likes to phrase it, heaven or hell. this isn't really a casual game in general. Now, I'm a person who even just self-admittedly is a bit more of a casual fan, but I can appreciate what they've done with this. I can appreciate what they've done right because they've done so much right. Now, if I could just say a couple gripes here, I think that there's just two that really kind of come to mind. I still think that the training mode needs a bit more of like extra options. It'd be nice if I could do things like tune the difficulty up and down much more on the fly, or make it where I could turn the speed up and down much more on the fly. Because a lot of times when I'm trying to practice these incredibly long combos, knocking people up in the air, trying to figure out how to bash people down like a volleyball and stuff, it's much more important to me to practice each individual motion. And I feel like that even with the most adaptive classes in this, at times things felt a little bit still incredibly steep, and I feel like newcomers are going to be a bit lost for the first couple hours. And additionally, here's just a random gripe for me personally. There's a story mode in this, but it's not really a story mode. Guilty Gear as a fighting game has always been very renowned for its absolutely insane lore, because people are flying around on guitars or having their soul shoot out of their body. But what I don't like is that story mode in this is just basically an anime. You can't fight. It's literally just a movie that you watch. I wish that they would at least, put some sort of fights in here to make it more interactive instead of just sitting here and passively watching a bunch of exposition dialogue. I wish they'd just found a way to combine arcade mode and story mode to make it something where we could play as these characters and experience these battles instead of just watching them take place. Now, this isn't a particularly big gripe. It's just something that I feel like would have enhanced the weirdness of this eccentric plot. Now, it is important to note here that I've been playing this game way before launch, and so because of it, I haven't had a chance to try out the netcode of day one. So basically, whenever you're playing online, one of the most key details of playing these fighting games over the internet is the fact that how is the other person going to react to the server connection, latency, reaction time. Like, a basic ability is how well you can actually fight when it comes to you and your opponent seeing who's the better player. But sometimes slow internet or crappy servers completely ruin the experience, and I haven't been able to test it yet. However, I did play in the Guilty Gear Strive beta, and with the rollback netcode, everything was very, very seamless. Everything I tried to do, every fight that I lost was my fault. It felt like every hit, every blow, every counter, and every dodge was exactly the way it should have been. Guilty Gear Strive definitely surpassed my expectations, and for that, I'm glad that they decided to do more than just another Guilty Gear. This is an impressive upgrade and a game that I feel like is going to be talked about for quite a while. I'm curious to see how this gets played, how this enters tournament, and who ends up being the top characters that players love the most. Okay, so we've heard some good and some bad, but let's go over the ratings board and put a big number on it. I am giving Guilty Gear Strive a 9.5 out of 10. If you've been finding yourself just really kind of yearning for that next incredibly deep fighting game experience, something that's going to challenge you, this is 100% it. Just be aware that this is something that's going to take a lot of practice to even be decent at. But hopefully I'll see you guys on the internet. I'm playing as Chip, and I'll be just trying to just decimate anybody I can with my ninja skills. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already, but do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Man, playing this game was really fun. It's actually been a couple years since I've played much Guilty Gear, so getting back in the arena and just smacking some people around, very, very sharp. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.